Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. Your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And today, it's Monday, which means it's Mailbag. And boy, oh boy, do we have some mail to open from you guys. It's going to be a really, really fun show. And for a fun show, I need a fun panel. You guys know the drill. And let's kick things off by introducing the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
What's going on, Ben? Who's got a letter? We got a letter. Shout out Blues Clues every Monday. I love it. Can't wait to answer the fans' burning questions. And I've got a good question of my own in the topics from Bobby Petito. Monster shout out, Bobby. I'm excited to answer that one. And let's get into it, guys. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. Bobby's saying he hopes we're having a great Monday. I hope you're having a great Monday as well, Bobby. We've also got numero one Superfly in the comments as well as David March, who's looking forward to Raw tonight. Also joining us on the show today, we have the head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. How are you, Anthony?
I'm doing all right. It's a rare Monday I'm able to do. I always love doing the mailbags with the questions, and like Clark said, I also have a great topic to discuss, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. The topics this week are really, really good. But yesterday, this guy made his return, and he's back again today. Ignacio, how are you on this Monday?
Pretty good. Excited to do Mailbag Monday. This is my first, and today I'm shaved. I'm showered, so I don't look or smell like an AEW fan today. So I'm ready to go.
They're just catching all those shots, the AEW fans, aren't they? But let's kick things off with a question from at 5.8 underscore edits on Instagram. I swear these usernames have more underscores and dots in every week, right? But he is asking a very good question, and it's a question which a lot of people are discussing right now because the internet wrestling community is speculating that perhaps there was just a slight chance that The Rock could be facing Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. Then maybe Stone Cold will come in and say, hey, I want to help Cody. I want to help get that title off of Roman Reigns. And they run back Stone Cold and The Rock one last time. Now, me and Anthony discussed this briefly on Saturday's show. Clark, I haven't had a chance to ask you your thoughts yet. Do you think there's any possibility that this could maybe happen? And if so, should it?
Oh, I love video games as much as the next guy, but that is the only place that this match should happen again. Maybe action figures. It's not fair to either performer. It's 21 years after the fact. That series needs to be left in the past. It was amazing for what it was. Do I think both could wrestle on this card? Sure. I have no issue with that. Each other, that's where I draw the line. Two guys that haven't been working consistently, haven't been bumping consistently, getting in the ring against each other 21 years after the fact. No story other than his story to back it up. I don't think it's the move. I wouldn't do it personally, but I would love to see both on the card. I have zero issue with Rock versus almost anyone and Austin versus almost anyone except each other.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I do agree with you there. And we got a comment from Reverse Flash 915, which actually made me laugh. These guys entertain, word I cannot say, entertaining, a load of rubbish, basically. Makes sense as they voted Hangman versus Swerve as match of the year. I mean, thank you for keeping an eye on our content, so you
Sweet
you
of us.
remembered that. But no, I agree. Listen, we're here to talk about, topics which are going around the wrestling world. Like I said, I don't think it should happen. And I said I don't think it should happen in like a comment section. And I got tons of criticism for it, saying I'm young, I don't appreciate it. I do appreciate their rivalry. It was fantastic.
What?
But time has passed. And if you revisit something, then it'll feel a little less special when then you see it and it kind of stains the memory for you. Just like, I'm going to get controversy for saying this as well, but just like Shawn Michaels appearing in Saudi Arabia a couple of years ago, that kind of made the WrestleMania 26 match feel less special to me, when previously, I actually, real hot take, almost preferred that match to the WrestleMania 25 match, because the WrestleMania 26 match had me so invested in as a kid that when I found out Shawn Michaels was retiring, I was shocked. I thought the streak was going to be over then. It wasn't, and Shawn Michaels decided to end his career, but then coming back, it kind of hurt it for me. And obviously this is a different situation, but it's another one of those where, we remember Rock Austin so fondly,
Yeah.
but do we really need to see it again like 20 years later?
And to your point, you look at Austin's return match here against Kevin Owens just a few years ago, right? Not that long ago. Fresh in our minds. Kevin Owens is as active as anybody on the planet and ready to bump, ready to do all of the things necessary to tell a story in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold and The Rock are on the same planet right this second on having to get back in ring shape ahead of Mania. If the plan was for them to work, not necessarily other wrestlers, but behind the scenes for over a year to prepare for this, I would believe in it, but we're just risking injury to two guys that have had many, especially Stone Cold. It seems unfair to Austin to have a match with Rock, because unless Austin's going over, he's going to have to bump for Rock for them to put on an entertaining match. And I don't see this as something that could go longer than 4 or 5 minutes. And we don't have the explosiveness of a Goldberg or a Brock Lesnar, where a 4 or 5 minute match might actually be, swallowable for the fan base. That's not enough. And that's not what we're looking for. This is in a fantasy world, of course. Prime Stone Cold and Prime Rock available, in shape, ready to go. Not that they're out of shape now, in ring shape.
Yeah.
Though, ready to go.
No, it's a good point.
Every day of my life I'd be in, but that's not the case.
I mean, Bobby Petito says it best. This match could happen if you had a 2K video game, because
Exactly.
that's where it belongs, right? And Numero One Superfly doesn't think it's a good idea either. The trilogy between the two at WrestleMania is perfect enough. Agreed, completely. I mean, Anthony, obviously, I know you're a huge fan of both these guys, but we also know that recently Stone Cold said that, well, there's one person who he could come out of retirement for that he'd want a match against. Is that man The Rock?
There's so much history here, because obviously they have faced each other 3 times at Mania amongst the other times they faced each other. The historical significance, though, is the first time they faced each other at Mania was in Philly 25 years ago. So I think that's a huge portion of why people are speculating, is that a possibility? Do I want to see them wrestle again? No, but I'd be lying to you if I'm in that stadium and I hear that glass break and see The Rock's reaction just one last time for them going blow to blow. It doesn't have to be a match. It could be just Austin coming down, stunning Rock. It's WrestleMania. It's the grandest stage. I don't have an issue with that. Do I want to see them wrestle again? Bear in mind, the 2 of the 3 times that they wrestled at Mania was a no disqualification match. So could they do a street fight type deal? Yeah, in theory they could. But I wouldn't mind seeing a one-off, just them coming to blows at WrestleMania for old time's sake. I don't have an issue with that. But I don't see it being Austin versus Rock at WrestleMania 40 as an official match.
I agree, actually. If it was in that type of situation, I'd love it. It would get a huge pop from the crowd. And be a cool WrestleMania moment. But yeah, as soon as it becomes official, as soon as that bell rings, I feel like it's obviously going to be a bit of a slightly longer thing then, and then everybody expects it to be, you know, a Rock Austin match, which at their age is just impossible.
Especially if it's a situation where The Rock's just in Roman's corner and is not wrestling, then he can fight him off. If it's a triple threat, there's no disqualification. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. Him coming down and taking out the bloodline or just taking Rock out of it so it's just Cody and Roman left to the finish of the match, I'm fine with that if that's what they want to do. Because, like you said, it's a WrestleMania moment. You want something that's memorable, and Mania is the one place you can go outside the box and just create moments. They did it with Sting, with the NWO and DX. Granted, that was, very Russo-esque type booking, but still, it's WrestleMania. It's the one show a year you can kind of do that type of crazy stuff and kind of get away with it. Where people are going, it's Mania, it's fine. Mania really is the one, and with this being the 40th, you're not going to go bigger. So to revisit something from 25 years ago, I'm okay with it if you wanted to do that.
Fair enough. But what about you, Ignacio? How do you feel about this situation? Do you think there's at all a possibility we could see Rock Austin one last time?
We learned in the past.
Sorry, Ignacio. I accidentally muted your mic there. Sorry. Do you reckon we could see it one last time?
Well, I think what we've learned in the past couple of weeks is that WWE can change the trajectory of any storyline that they want, and if they want this match to happen, they can make it happen. But this is the thing, is that I don't think Austin would agree to anything that's going to make him look bad. So a one-on-one match, no, I think is out of the question. I think they would probably do what they should have done yesterday. What I mentioned on yesterday's show on the Heaven or Hell is that they should have entered. By the way, go check out that show. It was very good yesterday for those of you who haven't seen it on Wrestling Republic. But they should have, if they were going to do it, they should have interjected Austin earlier in the storyline instead of incorporating Seth Rollins. And they could have done it, or they could do, or they could still do a tag team match with Cody and Austin and Rock and Roman. And the thing is that you gotta put them around people that aren't gonna make them look old and tired. And I think if they did a tag team match, that things would play out a lot better, because they can do like a no DQ tornado tag style match, and they're able to do punches. They're able to do punches and kicks and all that good stuff, and stunners and rock bottoms without less risk of injury. So I think that's more of a possibility than the one-on-one match, or do kind of something that Anthony mentioned, that on night 2 have Austin come in and be in Cody's corner and have a Rock and Roman's corner, and they can do kind of like a Rocky style matches. Somebody has somebody in the corner, like a fight, like an actual fight. And I think that would be pretty cool. I wish it was Dustin though in Cody's corner. I mean, how good would that be? But yeah, getting off topic. But do I think it's a possibility, a one-on-one? No, and I think Austin would know better, because he's the one who handpicked Kevin Owens, because he knew Kevin Owens wouldn't make him look old and tired and out of shape and all that stuff. And that's why they had as good as match as Austin could have, because it was Kevin Owens. And I think the same thing. I think Austin would feel more comfortable in a tag match because he trusts Cody. I assume he trusts Cody. I'm under the assumption that he trusts Roman also. So if you think it's going to be any kind of encounter as far as a match, it's going to be a tag team match. And if anything else is going to happen, it's probably going to be that scenario where he's in Cody's corner and Rock's in Roman's corner, or it's going to be some sort of confrontation at the end of the end of the night 1 match, or maybe even the night 2 match.
Imagine now if Solo Sikoa enters himself into Elimination Chamber, wins it to face Seth Rollins at Mania, then they do Rock, Solo, and Reigns versus Seth, Cody, and Stone Cold. And like, what? I would not like that, but I almost can't see them doing something like that. But Coach 23 says The Rock won't or couldn't do bumps the way Kevin Owens did for Stone Cold. I mean, that's a decent point. It's Archie thinks The Rock versus John Cena. No, we've
No,
seen
they're not doing that
that.
again.
We've seen that.
2 times.
For once in a lifetime.
Yeah. One time too many.
Once, twice in a lifetime.
One time too many. Yeah.
Yeah. One twice in a lifetime.
Coach 23 is also saying that, their match at WrestleMania, what's that?
19.
19 was a perfect closure to their feud. I need to brush up on my Roman numerals.
You just go
I think
XIX.
a little. I could have done that. I could have. I prefer being honest, Clark. I prefer to be an honest guy.
Dishonest? That's
I
how you
don't
say
know
it.
something, I'll say it. Don't know it. Anyway. We got Sunny.N.Sandy in the comments saying, has the show just started? Yeah, it started just over 10 minutes ago. Welcome to the show. And we got David Marge thinking Logan Paul's winning the chamber. Well, we'll be getting onto that a little bit later in the show. But before we do, Clark, I have a question for you. And this question comes from our good friend, Bobby Petito, who is asking, who would you guys like to see Mercedes Monet wrestle in 2024? Now, as of right now, she's a free agent. We don't know what's happening. What we do know is that AEW are doing an event called Big Business with the word boss on the graphics, and Tony Khan keeps referring to it as Boss Ton. So, putting one and one together, I think it's very possible at Big Business, Mercedes Monet shows up.
I've got a feeling about that one too, for sure.
Just an incline, I don't know.
Got a hunch.
Yeah. But who would you like to see her face wherever she ends up this year, Clark?
I mean, let's say she's going to AEW. Let's just, for hypothetical sake, say that she's going to AEW, which sounds like in Boston.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to see.
Imagine if it isn't.
I've got a nice list of wrestlers that I want to see her face. And I'm going to start with the obvious ones. I mean, the Soraya thing, because we all know about the history with the injury and whatnot, is interesting. Absolutely. Let me get that out of the way. The ones I'm most excited for, also, big names. Tony Storm would be excellent. AEW Women's World Champion. Mercedes Monet, I almost said Sasha Banks. The artist formerly known as Sasha Banks, Mercedes Monet, has the acumen, has the accomplishments to be a legitimate challenger for Tony Storm. Out of the gates, I don't think that's necessarily necessary. Tony Storm's done a great job with that title. 2 names that I want to see her face worse than life. The first being Willow Nightingale while carrying the TBS championship. Mercedes Monet versus Willow Nightingale, and Mercedes playing a heel against Willow, the ultimate babyface in that division for the TBS title. Sign me up. I am all in. That's a matchup I would love to see, and it's a stylistic matchup that makes perfect sense, given you have the powerhouse babyface style against the more speed, cruiserweight type style that Sasha Banks possesses. From a match perspective, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, some people are actually suggesting that match could be Mercedes Monet's first match.
I would be
Willow
all
as
over
a
that.
heel. Because Willow's, it seems like they're turning her heel almost on the AEW TV as of late.
Truly.
And I hate that idea. I hate it.
I can't stand it. It makes no sense to me. Willow is a face. Willow is the most likable women's wrestler on the planet right now to me. Please do not turn her heel on me. It will bug me to death. Don't do it. I'm begging. If anyone's in AEW creative is listening right now, please, please do not turn Willow heel. Okay, then my other name, and this is selfish. We haven't seen her in a long time, and we definitely haven't seen her in a major feud. But DMD, Dr. Britt Baker, please. Dr. Britt and Sasha on the microphone, Dr. Britt and Mercedes on the microphone would be sublime. I can picture it. The jabs back and forth, they're both awesome on the mic. This is a time Dr. Britt hasn't done much in a while. For her to
True.
return at the same time as Sasha Banks, same time as Mercedes Monet on national television and play out that rivalry could steal the show women's division wise and right a few of the wrongs we drastically discussed last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean it really would be, a fun way to do it. I mean, do we have any comments here to do it? Yeah, we got number one Superfly saying that Mercedes Monet versus Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, Willow, Tony Storm,
There we go.
or even Mercedes Martinez. Oh, that would be good. While Bobby Petito wants Sophia Reed or Billy Starks. I mean, those are two interesting ones. We got Mike Owen saying, and it's not a coincidence. Oh, sorry, that's about The Rock still, but he's saying it's not a coincidence that The Rock is coming back. It's the hype up the XFL or whatever it's called now. They've merged it.
Not even, it's the USL or USFL again now. And not only that, like he's out of that project and now on the board of directors for TKO.
Yeah,
is he out of it?
Yeah, the football thing's been over for a while.
I think he turned it over to his wife.
Yeah, he turned it over. Danny Garcia is the one.
Oh wow! I didn't actually know he was. I knew about the merger. I didn't realize that he.
Thing.
I didn't realize.
Not only that, like this entire run along the way to Mania, given the timing of the season for the off season of the NFL and when that product is produced, would be a conflict. Like he couldn't possibly do the wrestling stuff and that too. He's not involved anymore.
I mean, that project certainly put the X in XFL because everybody's the ex-owner of it. But Coach 23 saying Tony Khan loves to turn baby faces heel at the snap of his fingers. Yeah, I mean, I really hope.
Yes.
I really hope that he doesn't turn Willow. Please, please, please not. But Anthony, do we have a question for you? And this question is from @SamSton35 on Instagram, who is asking, should Mr. Perfect have won the WWE Championship? What are your thoughts?
Mr. Perfect is one of those ones, Kurt Hennig, that is always on people's list when they list, who's the best that have never been world champion? Owen's on the list, Piper's on the list, Scott Hall's on the list, and Kurt Hennig is. Why he never held the title, that's up for debate. I mean, we know towards the end of his life, it was an overdose. That I don't know if he had injury or drug issues back then. I believe he did have a bad back at one point. So I don't know if that contributed to it. Backstage politics probably played a role. He is a former AWA world champion, though. So he has held a world title technically. So I don't really know why it never panned out. He never held the WWE championship. He never held the WCW world title either. He certainly had the talent, but I don't know if behind the scenes stuff is what kind of prevented it, whether it was his own personal demons or just backstage politics, or it just never panned out. Whether or not he could have carried it as the face of the company, that I don't know. As great as he was and as over as he was, I don't know if he was over to that degree to be the face of the company, to be the world champion long term. Whether it's a transitional champion, definitely, but I don't know long term though. But he was one of the greatest of all time, and certainly could have been world champion. But I don't know what the exact reason was that he never actually got the brass ring, if you will.
Yeah, that invisible brass ring. He climbed to the top of the ladder and it wasn't there. It was imaginary. But no, he undoubtedly is. I mean, from the stuff I've seen of him, he was a fantastic worker. And the stuff that I've seen of him, he is very over with the crowd. In that, indeed. We got Sonny.N.Sandy saying the reason why he never had the championship was it was the era of the big, strong, tall Vince McMahon wrestlers.
Yeah, but at the same point, Bret Hart held the title. Shawn would hold the title, and they were
Razor Ramon didn't.
Well, we know why Razor didn't. The personal demons is what ultimately prevented Scott Hall from getting it. I don't know if Mr. Perfect had issues back then. I know he had a bad back, though. I know that for certain. I remember hearing that. But I don't know if there was an exact reason why he never held the belt.
Yeah. I mean, Coach 23's opinion on it is it was the wrong place, wrong time scenario for him to not win the title. And David Marge says he would have been a good short-term champion there. Well, certainly something that we can speculate about for years to come. I am absolutely certain. But Ignacio, we now have a question for you. And this question is submitted by at the Demolator 996, who is asking, do you think Cody Rhodes will finish the story? Now, this is something which I have talked at length about how I don't think it's happening. Clark doesn't think it's happening. Anthony thinks it's happening. Kobe thinks it's happening. Wrestling Republic, Chaos, and Soul both absolutely think it's happening. Wrestling Republic is divided, mainly against me and Clark on this one. But Ignacio, what is your take on this? Will he finish the story?
Well, yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's what we all been waiting for and what WWE's been building us up for, especially last year when they sent the fans home. I don't want to say that, well, I was going to say they sent the fans home unhappy, but looking, the hindsight being 2020, it hasn't been such a bad run for Cody climbing back up the ladder. I know there's some of us that disagree, but, you know, it's all about Cody getting back to trying to get the brass ring and fulfill his family's legacy, and they just wanted to build the story more. And there's been some hard road turns or kerfluffles along the way. You know, he had that feud with Brock Lesnar, which I thought was very good, and Brock put him over pretty good. And he, you know, in between then, he feuded with Judgment Day, and he had that match with Dominic at Money in the Bank. And at the time, not that he doesn't have any heat now, but Dominic was the hottest heel at the time, and Cody was the hottest babyface. So why not put them together at the time? He was supposed to reportedly.
Ooh. Oh, I think we got a technical issue here, Ignacio. Hopefully, he'll be back in just a second. I mean, we know Clark.
It seems like the tribal chief
Hello?
took him out.
I'm sorry about that, guys.
Hey, he's back. He's back. So, yeah, what were you saying, Dom? Mysterio, Cody Rhodes? Yes, we can hear you now.
Go ahead. We can hear
Can
you.
you hear me, Ben?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
So he was reportedly supposed to have that match with or that feud with Bray Wyatt, I believe. And that didn't come to fruition because of, you know, what happened with Bray and his passing, and that was very, very unfortunate and sad. But I mean, he's had a good run of opponents. You know, they threw Nakamura in there because, you know, it's just for filler. But, you know, everybody, the whole point was Cody is on his way back to the top, and they were throwing guys at him to knock him down because Cody was on an upward trajectory. And who wouldn't want to knock off the guy that's on an upward trajectory on his way to the world title? Because that means that that if they knock him off, then that means they're gonna have their shot at the world title possibly. So it just makes sense, at least my opinion. But man, I just think that everybody's been waiting for Cody and his family to get their moment. So I think Cody will finish the story, and I think it's one of the realest stories that's been told in a very long time. Yesterday, I talked about, you know, Bret Hart and Austin and WrestleMania 13 and how that was real. It just felt real. It was believable. Austin and Rock was believable. You know, Cody and fulfilling his destiny, Cody and Roman, that is believable. And you got the family aspect around it. You know, the bloodline against the Rhodes, and The Rock is involved, and it's just the most believable thing that WWE has had in a very long time. So I believe he's going to finish the story, and if he doesn't, well, what's going to happen next? Then that's what WWE fans are going to be asking them. They're asking themselves, well, he didn't finish the story. What's going to happen next now? So this is just like a very exciting time in WWE, because for the first time, I think, in a long time, fans are asking themselves, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? Because anything can happen in the WWE. And that's what's going to make that moment special.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It does feel unpredictable. We've spoken about this at length recently about like how this road to WrestleMania, I mean, none of us knew what could, happen. There's been tons of twists and turns. Admittedly, Elimination Chamber feels a little bit predictable, but outside of that, like, it has just been tons of twists and turns, and I think it's going to be that same way at the event itself. We don't know who's going to win, and it's not predictable. Obviously, last year was a bit of a swerve too, but this year I think it's a whole other level, because everybody seems so sure that Cody will finish the story, but there's a bit of doubt in their mind saying, hey, we thought it would happen last year, and it didn't. What happens if it doesn't happen again? Rock's in there too. That mixes things up. It's a fun time for sure. We have a lot of comments here. Mike Owen says the Rhodes legacy has been over for a while. No, it hasn't. It absolutely hasn't. We have David Marge saying, I hope Damien shatters his dreams and takes the title off him in record time. I think our followers are starting to join Clark now and turn in on Cody. Coach 23 says, if not a WrestleMania 40, a possible scenario with Cody's career on the line against Roman Reigns for the Universal title at MSG. Yeah, that goes back to what Clark predicted a few weeks ago. I actually really would like to see that, but I felt like they'd have to just do Rock and Cody to be able to do that now. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, there's so much speculation in the comments right now, and that kind of just represents, like you said, Ignacio, how unpredictable this is and how fun it is to, talk about it, to be on this podcast right now and just, be having a absolute blast talking about it. But we have another question, right? And this other question is about the Elimination Chamber match itself. Of course, it is this Sunday. Not Sunday, this Saturday.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get the times up now for everybody, but obviously it's in Perth, Australia. I think it starts at 2 a.m. Pacific time for those in the States, 5 a.m. Eastern.
Yep.
And then in the UK, it's like 9 a.m. It's perfect. It's brilliant for us, you guys, for once, having to deal with it. But it's a 4-match card, and we're going to talk about our predictions specifically on our Friday show. But a lot of people who are on this show aren't going to be on that show, and I want to talk about one match specifically, or more so, Jacob from our MMA group has sent in this question, and this question is, who should win the men's Elimination Chamber match to face Seth Rollins? Well, I'm going to treat this question, just like that, the word want. Who do I want out of these 6 men? The 6 men, of course, are Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, and Logan Paul. Well, who do I want to win? I want Randy Orton to win. Randy Orton, Seth Rollins is a 10 billion times more appealing match to me than McIntyre Rollins. Yes, there's more story with McIntyre and Rollins, but it doesn't really make sense from a storyline perspective. Why doesn't it make sense? It doesn't make sense because Drew McIntyre's lost every shot he's had at it, and it's not like there's been a big change since then. This was after his heel turn. It just wouldn't make much sense to me personally. But Anthony, what about you? Who do you think should be winning this Elimination Chamber match?
I think it's Drew. I think Drew makes sense. There's a story there. Story is what drives this business. There is no story with Randy, other than the fact they've wrestled each other before at Mania. Like there's no story there with Randy and Seth. They've had no interactions other than them tagging together in the not even tagging, but in the War Games match. There really is no interaction between the two of them. Drew, there is. And quite frankly, it wouldn't even be Drew. It would be Punk, but Punk's injured. So therefore, Drew's taking Punk's spot in this scenario. I mean, they released a t-shirt with a tombstone with Drew with Punk. Like, it makes sense that it would be Drew. So I think because the story's there, now whether or not Drew takes the title off of him, I don't know. It all depends on how bad Seth's knee is. Now, he's saying he's getting better, so maybe they won't take the belt off of him. I don't think Damien can carry a world title. Right now, I don't think he can. Down the road, maybe. I don't think he's going to have a successful cash-in, personally.
Wow.
I don't. I don't think he's there. I really don't. I think somewhere down the line he might be, but I don't think he's there yet.
He's getting on age-wise, though. I mean, kind of almost is now or never for him.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Balor may cost him, or because Balor will be mad that Damian kept screwing him up when he was trying to win the title. The truth element is always in play now. But personally, I think Drew's going to win the Chamber and face Seth at Mania.
Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, he is, that is the name which a lot of people are saying. Drew McIntyre. Like I said, you are right. It makes no sense from a storyline perspective. But the story, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me because McIntyre's lost all these shots.
It doesn't have to be a compelling story, but really, there's no story with anybody else.
And I just prefer them try and make a short one over one which just feels like...
So you're building a Drew one to do nothing? That he doesn't get the match? Like, at that point, it's like, what was all this build for? Nothing?
Well, a match. He needs to win a few other matches, build himself up, and then maybe SummerSlam next year he's got a title shot. And that really tell a story, rather than you have him lose and then 3 months later, main event of WrestleMania. I mean, if it was a babyface, maybe I'd say differently, but he's a heel, and he's only just turned heel. Like, it just feels like way too much of a fast build, and it's not like he's facing Cody tonight. I imagine Cody's winning tonight. I mean, is it the Money in the Bank thing now with the WrestleMania main event, where if you're gonna get it, you've got to lose against everyone first?
Yeah, but really, is it that much fast? If you wanted Orton to win, they're going to have to rush a story with him and Seth. At least the Drew.
Oh no, they are.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't have an issue with the Drew scenario.
I don't know. I mean, Coach 23, to be fair, has got me here. He's saying, an RKO win seems random. This isn't an AEW show, Ben. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not ideal, this situation. But like Anthony said, it was presumably meant to be, Mr. Phil, Brooks C, Punk. Mike Owens asking, what city in Australia are we in? We're not in Australia, but Money in the Bank is in Perth. We're all around the globe. I'm in London. Anthony's in Philadelphia.
Money in the Bank is not in Perth. Elimination Chamber.
Not Money in the Bank. Elimination Chamber.
Great pay-per-view.
All this Money in the Bank talk is throw me off.
You've been
happy Thursday, guys. It's throwback. This is time for our throwback topic. No,
what are you on?
Mashback Monday.
I've joined. Flashback. But Ignacio, what about you? Who do you reckon will win the men's chamber match?
Well, I don't think it's going to be... Look, it's WrestleMania, so I think they're going to go with the guy that can give them the biggest marquee match, the name on the marquee. And everybody just loves Randy Orton right now. I mean, he just gets the hugest pops whenever he comes out. And everybody, I think Randy Orton's one of those guys that I think he's more appreciated now than he ever has been. And I think they want the name on the marquee, and the name on the marquee, the biggest match that they can give the fans at WrestleMania is Randy Orton against Seth Rollins. And it's kind of like you said, they can do a small build. I mean, there's a little bit of history there. They can work up Randy's chase for the it's going to be 15th world title win, right?
I think so, yeah.
15th, they can play that angle, and I just think that they're going to go with the biggest name that is in the chamber, the biggest superstar, and that's Randy Orton. I don't think that Drew McIntyre, even though he's having a great heel run, he's doing pretty good as a heel. I just don't think he's the name on the marquee. I never thought that Drew McIntyre, whether it be heel or babyface, could be the guy, because to me, he's just missing something. Before I used to say his promos, but now he's doing pretty good at promos now that he's a heel. But I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see Drew McIntyre as the guy, and I don't see him as the name of the marquee for this WrestleMania 40. I mean, how many main events has Randy Orton been at WrestleMania? I mean, why wouldn't they go with Randy Orton? Because he has the experience. He's a veteran. He can protect Seth Rollins if he needs protecting because of his injury. So to me, it just makes sense, and it's mathematical. Randy Orton's the guy that they should go with, and I think he's the best. Excuse me. I think he's the best guy to choose to give Seth Rollins the best match in his condition. That he can give Rollins the best. He can get the best match out of Rollins, and I think that's the way the shit could go. I think I'm calling it Randy Orton's winning the Elimination Chamber.
Well, we certainly agree on that, Ignacio. I mean, I love Drew McIntyre. I just don't think the story makes much sense if he was to win again after having so many, what feels like so many championship opportunities in the last couple of months. But at a later time, I'd love to see Drew with the title. Just right now, it doesn't make sense for me personally. Clark, let's get into you then. What do you think? The 6 guys in this match, I'll go over it once again. We have Kevin Owens, L.A. Knight.
L.A. Knight. Orton, we got Drew, we got all of this. And I'm sorry, Ben, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I'm going to bug a bunch of people right now. I've been a lifelong WWE fan, and hear me out on this. This is what bothers me a ton. Everything in the world on the internet wrestling community central hub or whatever it's called. I think it's Twitter or X or whatever they call it nowadays. Like their central intelligence agency of the IWC. Everybody's all like, well, it's got to be this and that and Punk and this and that. Okay. What they've done in the main event scene on the other side, SmackDown, if there was a real brand split, which obviously there's not, but if there was, what they've done is excellent. All the storytelling. Then the champion Seth Rollins actually looks pretty weak on stage at the press conference here. And now we've told some stories with Drew McIntyre. We've got Randy Orton, who chose SmackDown, is super over in the Elimination Chamber for a shot at the title that's over on Raw. Awesome. Can't wait. I would love for Randy Orton to win this. He looks to be in great shape. He's gained a lot of muscle and all of that, but this is so telegraphed you can't even make it up. The exclusion of Sami Zayn in this match. We've got Kevin Owens over on the United States.
That's because they're telling a story with Sami Zayn. You've got
Kevin Owens over in the United States title picture. You've got Logan Paul over there defending his United States title. It's not him. Well, it's definitely not him. We all know that. LA Knight has been excellent. Speaking of people who have lost in big opportunities, this is so telegraphed. It's a triple threat. It's McIntyre at Elimination Chamber. It's Sami Zayn on the back end of that one, and Seth Rollins defending his title. That's what's going to happen at WrestleMania. How we get there? Well, Drew's going to win the Elimination Chamber. Randy Orton, though, Ignacio made the best point ever. He's the biggest name on the marquee. It should be Randy Orton. It would make the most sense direction-wise, and as we know, Randy Orton's 1-0 against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Actually, the same night, Seth Rollins walked out carrying the title when he cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase. And if we telegraph this all the way into re-simulating that with Damian Priest, I will complain about this till the end of time, because don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of both companies. I love AEW and I love WWE, but this is so beyond telegraphed. If I wanted to be spoon-fed, I'd stop using forks. It's ridiculous. Like, knock it off.
It's not. I don't think it's that obvious.
Get us into better storytelling, but Drew McIntyre goes over without question, and then Sami Zayn gets inserted into this 3-way, and who knows what happens from there. Maybe it's Damian Priest, but please don't do that. I'm hoping the question is, who are we rooting for? The answer is Randy Orton. What do I think is going to happen? What I just said, and that's the most frustrating part about it.
I agree with a lot of what you said, including McIntyre winning being very predictable, right? I 100% agree with that. That's why I hope it's not going to happen. But I don't think the Sami Zayn thing's all that predictable. I mean, I'd love it for it to happen. And I think you might be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. But what I'm saying is I've not heard that many people say that. So I don't think it's that predictable. People are calling Rollins and McIntyre not a triple threat. But I think now you've said it, that could very well happen, and I'd love it to happen. Numero 1 Superfly is saying he would love for it to happen, but isn't sure about how they get to it. David March says his mind is racing. Bobby Petito says wow about the idea, but Bobby Petito wants Kevin Owens to win, while David March wants LA Knight to win instead. It's interesting, isn't it? It's fun.
Interesting.
It's not predictable.
It is. Drew's going over, and then Sammy gets
That part, maybe.
I
The
don't
Sami
know where
Zayn part's
Orton
not
is.
that predictable.
It's Drew Sammy, and it makes the most sense. We have injured Seth Rollins, and the way that it's worked, it makes by far the most sense. The disappointing part to me is actually because of the history at Elimination Chamber. I thought Sammy's peak actually happened there and not even night 1 of WrestleMania last year when he did main event and win the tag team battles with his best friend. I thought the height was actually the turn on Roman over at Elimination Chamber. And to 1 year later, not have Sami Zayn in a key spot, maybe in the chamber match or on the card, is ridiculous.
I think 90% of the roster's not on the chamber card.
I think that's what makes it so obvious that Sammy's being inserted into the Mania main event picture. I think that's what makes it so obvious. Otherwise, he'd be in this chamber and losing.
It's obvious they're doing something with him. I'll agree with that. It's not obvious it's a world title shot. A lot of people actually, I feel, are speculating Gunther more than actually Rollins. But listen, maybe we will see that. Would make a lot of sense, like you said. And plus, if Rollins was to somehow get injured in the tag match on night 1, then at least you have a singles match for the interim title, which would make a little bit of sense. But on that note, guys, that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you to Clark, thank you to Ignacio, and thank you to Anthony for joining me here today. Tomorrow, we'll be back for the Raw Report. Please like, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. Give it a cheeky 5 stars on Spotify. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.